Now let's get into more particular forms of nihilism from a psychological standpoint. Since with the human species, uh, we're divided into two main groups, two main types, specialized types, reproductive types, the male and the female. Each shows a distinctly different attitude towards the world, and so it develops a different form of nihilism, the masculine form and the feminine form. I'm going to read from something I wrote and I posted on my blog. The term nihilism defines a total and absolute rejection of reality, the world, and or nature. It is based on binary logic, all or nothing. If not God, then nil. If not perfection, then destruction. This either-or attitude is quintessentially nihilistic. Nihilism can have, for this reason, two forms. The more positive form, which is the masculine, and the more negative form, which is the feminine. The most well-known form of nihilism is the feminine form. This form of self-denouncing, world-denying self-hatred proposes surrender to the fluidity of nature towards the absolute void, which is the flow of time. This ideal state is an immersion in emptiness, to be lost in a no thing. Because entropy increases naturally and without effort, this form of surrender is feminine, because the female psyche always gives into the most powerful entity, and there's nothing more powerful than what requires no effort to come about. Furthermore, given that females are a personification of nature, she is nature made manifest, the affinity of women to increasing entropy is part of her psychology. This is why any indication of order, the absolute form being God, which is a personification of absolute masculinity, is irresistible to the female. The masculine form of nihilism is that of God, i.e. absolute order, omnipotence, omniscience. Here nature is not surrendered to, but totally denied, rejected, destroyed. This type tries to release itself, its form, its constraints from nature, and the insufferable tendency towards disordering, which is another way of saying mortality. It manifests as a misogynistic self-hatred, given that the feminine is also part of all biological masculine emergent unities. The projected goal here, the objective, is absolute order, or a singular state of inertia, absolute mass, the singularity, the occupation of all possibilities, space, simultaneously, omnipresence, the end of time, timelessness. All these are metaphors for the absolute one, the absolute singular, God. Of course, this totalitarian state necessitates the elimination of all other masculine energies. Ergo, states impose feminization as a matter of survival and internal stability. This is a tendency towards the absolute which can never be defined, since it is absent. Therefore, it is always a something. It's ambiguous because the absolute is exactly what is lacking, and so it can be defined in any way. The sum part of the something aspect of the concept is where the masculine competition takes place, in ideologies and ideas and memes and genes. To the no thing, it presents a hope, a something, where thingness is presupposed as either being already existent and awaiting discovery, feminine, or as being under construction, becoming, and so yet to be determined and defined, being created. These are two forms of human dissatisfaction. The awareness of a lack in existence. They are produced by binary logic, dualism. It manifests into two specialized forms of reproduction. Reproduction is a kind of answer to mortality. Ergo, the act of procreation is linked to creativity, and it represents the masculine aspect of human nature in both females and males. Ergo, even in females, it is the male hormone, testosterone, which regulates sexual drive. In other words, the libido. Now let's analyze in brief a particular popular masculine form of nihilism. It's called anarchy. The reason why males are attracted to the feminine political extreme of anarchy is because there they assume that they can dominate, establish in the absence of all authority their own order. Their masculinity is attracted to the feminine nature, awaiting their dominion. It is usually professed as a preferred state by those males who feel the most suppressed sexually, or those who have been the most emasculated. So while females are seduced by any semblance of order superior to their own, a masculine spirit is seduced by any feminine disorder superior to its own. Therefore, capitalism in its extreme is a kind of economic anarchy, worshipped by those males who are the least economically viable, whereas those with economic clout preach capitalism but practice a control over economic affairs. So they sell the idea the government is evil, and yet they require government control to maintain their wealth. There has never been an application of a purely capitalistic system, no more than there has ever existed a purely communist system. The ongoing attack on governmental control by conservatives is meant to for public consumption, where in fact government is supported in its control over human affairs. By doing so, the democratic ideal is diminished, as it makes those who would most benefit from a strong government, and by participating in public affairs and by voting, antagonistic towards the very medium through which their feeble power has any relevance. After all, government is by the people for the people, in theory, but by making individuals paranoid about government, this theory is never put into practice, allowing those with the means to influence and to direct the government, the governing body, with bribes and backroom agreements. This has reached the peak of effectiveness in our time in the United States. The method of divide and conquer is utilized on a psychological level. The ideal of anarchy is promoted as a countercultural ideal, manipulating masculine egotism, and in this way widening the natural rift between the individual male and those males in the same social boat as he is. Anarchy disables any organized resistance comparable to the system's power, and so it renders it impotent, a display of ineffectual masculinity, screaming and biting, but not really doing any harm. As a representation of the extreme left, the feminine qualities of submission are ensured. In other words, no matter how rebellious these men pretend to be, they still hold on to the basic premises of femininity, equality, uniformity, tolerance, non-violence, and so on. The basic form of nihilism, as was noted before in another video, is the psychology of slavishness, the herd psychology, the eternal victim of happenstance. That is, the world is unjust, cruel, mean, indifferent, and so must be made to feel, must be made more just through human intervention. Nihilism always attempts to turn everything upside down and make the weak strong, the strong weak, overturn realities and hierarchies, do away with natural selection. The meek shall inherit the earth. The strong will pay the price, will be avenged upon, will be used as a tool for vengeance. The slave turns into the master. We see these two types of nihilism when they're taken literally and pushed to the extreme in the political discourse. The right wing represents the masculine form, where absolute order is to be established. And of course, once attained, absolute order really means the end of existence, the end of becoming. The other is the left, the feminine, which preaches total uniformity. Uniformity in emptiness, in void, the absolute void, to be immersed in nothingness, in essence, to become nothing within nothing. In this way, avoiding everything from the past, all that has been already determined, losing oneself in the crowd, so that one's own insecurities and inferiorities cease to matter, and everything becomes uniformly the same. This is a leveling desire, which Kaczynski, the Unabomber, explored in his manifesto, and many others, of course, Nietzsche and Schopenhauer and Spengler and many. As I said before, the underlying emotion, the mother of all emotions, is fear, and it can either be internalized, that is, turned inwards towards self-hate, or it can be externalized, turned outwards towards hate of other, or it can become a productive element, turning into a drive to surpass oneself, to overcome, to destroy, but not for destruction's sake, not to annul the world, but to build something else. And you start by building what is more familiar to you, that is yourself. You begin with building what you have control over, that is your own self. In fact, this desire to end all conflict, to end all suffering, to end all discrimination, is in fact a desire to nullify everything, to turn everything void, to erase everything, to level everything. Particularly this desire to not discriminate is rooted in the desire to become unconscious of existence, because consciousness is the consciousness of what is different. We become aware of something when it is different, not when it's the same. Uniformity is a generalization. For instance, when we see a forest, we call it by one name, forest. When we look closer, we see that it's made up of trees. That means we discriminate one tree from the other. If we look even closer upon the tree, we'll see that not all trees are created equal either, that they have differences. That means the more aware we become, the more discriminating, the more we perceive differences, not similarities. The more we stand back, we detach ourselves, we see things from a distance, the more unaware we are of details, the more they look uniform and the same. And this modern drive to make everything tolerant and non-discriminating is a drive to numb the senses, to turn everybody dumb, to make everybody unconscious of reality of the world. When in fact, natural selection is about the selection of differences, not about similarities. I mean, what is selected in natural selected? Is it the brotherhood of man? No. Through competition, the differences that prove to be superior to other differences within the given environment are selected. That's what natural selection is. Even in this desire to improve oneself, what one wishes to do is to differentiate himself from his past. That is, to become different from his past, to become better. And that means becoming other than what it was. Because existence is about change. Now, what direction change takes is could be determined by the will. The will is the focus of the aggregate energies of an organism upon an objective or an object. This is the advantage life offers to the emergent unity, the organism. This focus of energies. This is what we call willpower. And finally, the hatred of women could be regarded as a hatred of our nature, of nature itself. A wish to rise above it, to rise above our sexuality, to rise above that which binds us to the earth, to become pure spirit, in other words, to become gods. And the woman represents the earthly quality, the nature that prohibits us from being what we want willfully. Fear can either be dealt with by denial or by facing up to it, by accepting it. There isn't such thing as an absence of fear. How we deal with fear determines if we're courageous or cowards.